Welcome to Fall in Love with Your Business Again podcast. We are on episode number 10. It's your host, Giovanna from bumperleads.com, a marketing automation agency that helps businesses grow faster by streamlining your marketing. And you know what? We all have our own life stories to tell. And it's these stories that form our daily beliefs that we live by. But it is how we manage or perceive those beliefs that defines how we actually move forward in life. I'm excited to be chatting with my guest today. Her name is Jill McIntyre, and she's one of the most inspiring people I've ever met. Jill works as a life, business, and property coach. I first met Jill at a webinar workshop that we both attended maybe 5 years ago, or a number of years ago. Since then, we have supported each other in the growth and development of our respective businesses. If you listen closer to the end of the show, Jill talks about her very difficult experience that she had as a franchisee, which led to her winning the Goliath legal battle here in Australia. And it came at a price. However, it has helped her move forward and become who she is today. And there is absolutely nothing that Jill can't do. And I'm truly excited to be sharing her story with you today. I start this interview by asking Jill how she likes to start her day.
Absolutely, starting off with putting some insight into me and pepping up me for the day. I think that this is a necessity for every one of us when we're in business and moving forward. And by putting insight into me, it's something that helps my mindset, clears where my thinking is, certainly quietens my brain down that I'm not working on 150 things at once. I certainly work then also on what I've got to achieve in the day, what order of preference do I have to achieve in the day. And obviously we've got time slots with appointments, Giovanna, but the bottom line is what do we have to do in readiness for those appointments? What do we have to have achieved by the end of the day? So I work very much on a schedule on a daily basis, which goes into my diary or my planner for each day. I know the day before what I've got to accomplish, and of course, as each morning comes on and the day evolves, it increases.
Oh, that's a very good morning routine. I think puts you, I guess, in a very productive mindset.
And I think, I think we all have to be. If we're going to really succeed in business, we've got to think like a business. And this is where we let ourselves down. We don't let anyone else down. We let ourselves down because it's so easy to get caught up in the things that are happening around us. I'm too busy. I've got to do this. I've got to do something else. It doesn't matter on what area of focus that you're on, whether it's business, property, share trading. We've got to be structured in how we plan our day. In saying that also, though, if we are structured, we are valuing our own time. If we're not structured, we're, just have no value on what we do and the outcome. And if that's the case, don't turn around and say to yourself, well, you failed, because it's all about having a plan in place and an action plan, you following through it. And this is down on a daily basis. It's also what I want to achieve in the month, and I work back in my weeks, and some things just pop up. There will always be things that we've got to handle in the middle of all of this, but the bottom line is you've got to keep on going back to your planner. And that's your anchor.
Yes, what do you think about my planning? I tend to plan my week on Monday, like a to-do list, whereas some people say, no, you should do it really on Friday so that you begin and you start your next week on Monday with the task that you've already planned.
So can I just touch on one point? First of all, you said your to-do list. And I think if we do a mindset change on that and call it a must-do list, it's important to us. And if it's a to-do list, we will keep on moving the goalposts. And at the end of the day, on my calendar, virtually it's my diary, but on your worksheet that you've got for the day, I tick everything off as I'm going through it and do it. If it's not ticked off and if there's not a line down it, so at the end of the day, I have a line down on the column edge of everything that I've accomplished in that day. If there's something missing, at a heartbeat, it's easy to pick up and go back. Why haven't I done it? And if it's important enough to me, I'll do it at 8 o'clock at night. If it's not important, how can I put it on to another day, or who can I bring in that I can delegate it to? It's all in your thinking. It's all in your thinking. And the other thing is too, when you were saying about Friday for setting up, I do my Sunday nights as my week ahead. And it's always Sunday to me is the beginning of a new week. And it's only purely a mindset thing. But I'm getting myself geared up. Yes, it's the weekends, and I work a lot on weekends because I'm flexible in my business. But for me, Sunday night is, what have I got on tomorrow morning that I can hit the ground running? What have I got on for the week? And everything's set in place. I've just got to go back and familiarise myself and prioritise in my must-do list for things that are important.
I told our listeners a bit about yourself and your background, but I think it would be awesome if you can share a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you help business owners.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a life, business and property coach. And in property, for example, I have clients throughout Australia and sometimes overseas from time to time. But the bottom line is that they're coming to me because they want more than what they've got. The same thing with business. They're coming to me because they want more than what they've got. Everything that we do, we've got to think that our real success doesn't come from our know-how or skills. 70% of our success comes from our psychological thinking and our clarity and mindset. This is where we came back, as we spoke a couple of minutes ago, about knowing what you're doing ahead, actioning on what you're doing ahead, having a planner on what you're doing ahead. So say, for example, someone might come to me and they're wanting to get into property, as one particular guy that I've got on at the moment, and he's been with me for 12 months. And he came in, he's been in property for 12 months, for around about 10 years. He's only in his 30s at the moment. And he wanted to really crank it up, have a very different outcome with just a deal at a time, just struggling money-wise, just waiting for that money to come in. And in that 12 months, his business, we've taken it, but his business is elevated. We'll be doing something like 7 projects of buy, reno, subdivide, sells this year. The next thing is that I'm also working on a couple of different streams of income, all property related, but they're stemming from his expertise that's come out of the last 12 months of him identifying his strengths and working on them. So I work very closely on whether it's got property as a header or business as a header. It doesn't matter to me. It's about growth. Visualising how we can make this work that fits in to give us an income that gives us a good bang for our bucks, and how we identify the 5% of things that we're really good at and the 95% of things that really aren't our strong point. We might be able to do them, but aren't our strong point, and how we then leverage and invite people in to help and support us.
I've known you, Jill. We go far back together now, 5 years?
Yes.
You have seen me transform and transition. I think you have a really good way of identifying personality profiling, and I think it's an amazing tool. If they can do it on themselves, or if they can hire you to just run it, because it is a revealing tool. What did you find about me?
Well, and it's funny because I've been doing personality profiling. I first got introduced to it many, many years ago when I was doing my life coach training, or prior to that. And it's such a valuable tool to have to find out about yourself. Because of the personality type that I predominantly am, when I first read my essays from my profile results, I was absolutely shocked because it told me that I loved hanging out in coffee shops. And that's where I spent, because I'm an extrovert. I love to recharge in a coffee shop, and I thought, who's looking over my shoulder? This is weird. How do they know that about me? And that's exactly where I'm in. One of my happiest places is in a coffee shop. It also helps me to identify the behavioural patterns of other people. And probably for me, I've got a hearing problem, as you're aware, Giovanna, about lots of things. Obviously, I struggle to hear. Not in situations like this. I've got a headset and I'm fine. But I very much look at people's body languages and how they come in, if they cross their arms, how they're dressed. One type of personality type depends on when I was presenting at a gig, I had to laugh because a lot of them were very analytical in the actual group I was presenting to. There's about 25 in the group. And one of the footprints of being in that category is that because they're so analytical to the point of at times being anal and over the top and procrastinators, so many of them could relate that they could go out with a jumper inside out and not even think about it, or they'd have a pair of brown shoes on, but they might be not matching. And so much about a person you can see by how they stand. And that's all personality types. It is also an asset because if you're going to have a conversation with someone that is very entrepreneurial, you need to lift your game to be talking their language and at that speed of language. If I was talking to a back end person that didn't have confidence, I wouldn't be going 10 to the dozen and sweeping them off their feet. I would have lost them in the first 2 minutes. So it's a lot about finding out about me and building on my strengths within that area that I can identify who I need to help and support me, but at the same time, picking out pieces within everyone I meet that can help and support their growth as well, which I can do at the click of my fingers. And I love it. And it's something that comes very, very easily. I've got to be very mindful when I'm going out with dear friends and my children to take that hat off, Giovanna. And especially my children who are now obviously growing up and got their own children, but I can do it so automatically, but that's only because of the use and the value that it's been in my life. And every one of my clients absolutely uses it, as you do in conversations. You'll come back and identify a particular profile type of person in conversations that we
Yes,
have.
I think so. And I think when we met, you did hit the nail on the head with me when you said that I was this North personality. I am
Yes,
similar to the 1% of the population that are like
absolutely.
Richard Branson.
Yep,
And
yep,
it made me realize that all the feelings and everything that I was feeling back in my corporate life was actually as the result that I was not living my purpose. Now
yes,
I feel so much joy working in business as a self-employed person, running a
yep.
company and having staff. For me, it's a lot more motivational. It does not feel like a grind, like a daily grind.
Oh, I so agree with you because obviously I'm in my own business and have been for years. But the funny thing about that, if I think back to that conversation, Giovanna, it's very much where you had the ability then, but the thing that was lacking was the confidence that was going to take you into a different phase. You had the courage to get up and take that step and action it. It's able to, as a North personality, you are very good at visualizing situations. The further on I go, the more I realize that is a real gift that you've got. And I'm very good at visualizing. I do it with my clients on a regular basis. But the majority of the population can't visualise. If I was talking to an agent and I was wanting to sell, I was looking at a property to purchase and then was going to go on and do, say, a renovation, a cosmetic renovation, I'd be saying to him, and what would this cost if I upgraded the kitchen and the bathroom? And the number of agents that turn around and looked at me blankly and they'd just say, how long is a piece of string? Because they've got no visualisation tools that they can understand the picture that you're painting to be able to evolve in and create an outcome financially or money-wise to give you some guidelines. And that just in property, it's in business too. Visualisation We need to visualize where we're going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 3 years. If we can't visualize where we're going to be in 3 years in our business and bring it in and live in the now 3 years on, we can't create that conversation that is going to convert our subconscious thinking into believing that it's happening now. And most of our thinking is in our subconscious space. And in fact, about 95 to 99% of it we spend on autopilot. We don't get into the car and think, how do we drive it? We don't think, which side of the road do I drive on? Everything is an automatic that we autopilot, that we work on, and it's getting out of that space into a conscious state, which is only very, very minimal with every one of us on a daily basis, that we can really start to visualize and take steps to
No,
move
I
forward.
agree with you, Jill. It is so important. Like early this year, I lost my visualization. I don't visualize, and I have my days where I really enjoy being by myself and just with my thoughts. And I lost that this year, and it just made me feel like I've lost my purpose. And then I kept listening to other people telling me what to do, and I was guided by their suggestions and ignored my vision completely. And that made me derail from what I originally wanted to do. So it was so interesting to go through that experience. And then it hit me one day, you just wake up one day and you go, no, this is what I want to do. This is why I do this every day. And just go back to the company values. So that's the first thing I did when I started Bumper Leads 5 years ago, was to have values and build my company around the values that I want to live and that I want my staff to live by, and that we want to give and share, help as many clients and business owners. That was my vision. And for some reason, I lost that vision.
Do you know, I think a lot of people that would be listening to this could relate to what you're talking about. And if we look back on, as a child, we are influenced by our peers or our surroundings or the kids at school or our parents, for example. And as time goes on, we are taught what to think. And, if you voted a certain way for government, you would probably be doing it the same way as your parents. Not always, but this is just an indicator. And as we grow older, we keep on reverting back to what to think. It's only when we do the mind shift and get out of our comfort zone and start to think differently on how to think, that's where our real success and our new growth comes into being. So where you went, you reverted back to what to think until one day, yes, that was it. And you went on to how to think. And how to think gives you, it's freaky in the beginning, but once you've had a taste of it, you wouldn't go back to what to think.
Oh, no. I agree with you. I think back to when we met the first time 5 years ago, and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? All I had to do was just have courage to take action on what I was planning on doing, and not be stuck in this mindset of not proceeding, not growing. And then that kind of taught me to actually be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the more I am uncomfortable, the more courage I have. The more growth, yeah. And I feel like I'm more brave to actually do things that people would go, that's crazy. My husband and I, Corey, we traveled for a year. We ran the business and traveling, and a lot of people would go, that's crazy. You know what? We are back, and within 6 months, we're like, okay, we need to do this again, because it's, it's an adventure. Awesome. We need to be uncomfortable again.
Absolutely, and you're living the dream that you have the freedom in your business to be taking it anywhere in the world and working out of any place as long as you've got internet connection. And that's exactly the same with my business. And I'm movable and portable to the coffee shop even. I love it.
Yes.
The other thing that just you and I are similar in so many ways with our direction and visualization, but we're so different in other ways. And even before we started this recording, I was laughing and saying, "Come on, remember, Giovanna, I'm not techo minded. You've got to help me here." I am so far from techo. It's not funny, which is part
Yes.
of my personality profiling type actually. And it's just lovely because when I have conversations with you about things that are really high tech, you can automatically take over the conversation and give me the answers to what I need to do. It
Yes.
doesn't mean that I don't know the overview of what you're talking about. I do. And this is what I do with my clients. But the fine detail of how to do it, I don't need to worry about that. I just get someone that can do it for me.
Yeah.
So, this is where I love our shared time together because we stimulate and excite each other. And I always leave our get togethers and with a vision and moving forward and a solution to things that have cropped up because you've got the answers that I don't have. But this is part of leveraging
Mm.
and the benefits that come to us.
Oh, that's thank you. I didn't know that that's how you feel.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But with our listeners, I know that it wasn't this easy for you before. You had a business in the past, which was actually a
Yep.
franchise, and
Yes.
it got me thinking because I kept reading around the franchise operators here in Australia, where the law is really unfair to people who buy franchises and own
Yep.
franchises. And
Yep.
you were kind of in a similar situation. Do you want to share a story around your experience as a business owner or franchise owner?
Yes. My husband died when our children were 9 and 11 years of age, and that's a long time ago, obviously now. But as the time went on, I was widowed at 39 and very unexpected. Yes, when I say unexpected, he had got cancer and 11 months later he died. When in those days too, things were very, very different. There weren't handouts from the government. There weren't supports with on any level. I think I got something like $27 a fortnight child endowment, and that was it for being a single parent. And so after might have been 4 or 5 years, I knew that I had to do something else money wise. And I was working in a PAYG situation. I was happy there. I love what I was doing, working for solicitors, doing office management and trust accounts and the financial side of things. But I knew I had to get out, and I didn't have the confidence or the know-how back then as to what to do. So a couple of people, different people, recommended a franchise to me and to get into a specific franchise, which I did. And I built that franchise up over the next 2.5 to 3 years. And it was a small franchise group. There was only six franchises here in Victoria, in Melbourne. And as time went on, from day one, I never made money. And I know all new businesses, they say it takes a while to make money, but it just went down from there. And they suggested, my franchisor suggested I take an overdraft, took on more debt, longer hours. I was working 5.5 days a week. 5.5 days a week, and 2 nights a week I'd have classes as well. By year 3, it was a very sorry state of affairs. I couldn't get out of the franchise because I'd walk away and lose everything, and I couldn't stay in the franchise. The business couldn't be sold to anyone else because there was no profit, and
Yeah.
this was happening with the other franchises as well. So it was an interesting course of events, and in the end, 5 out of the 6 of the franchises we banded together and approached the ACCC to take us on as a franchise case against our franchisors.
Wow.
This then became a test case, and we eventually won. And yes, I had to walk away from everything because the parent company had taken everything out of the franchise entity, even though we won with the ACCC. But it was a huge emotional time to me. I was very close to a breakdown, financially in dire, to say the least. At that point, we had the choice with loss. Are we going to get up and move on, or are we going to just implode and go nowhere? And of course, with two young children to survive, debts to pay, I wasn't going to sink. So it's been interesting. The daughter, only a couple of months or so ago, said to me, I've just been on and had a look at the parent company who's now been on sold to someone else. And our test case has now been used about 70 times for other franchises in similar situations for unconscionable behaviour. So out of everything negative, there's something positive, Giovanna. But we've always got to look for that positive rather than dwelling on the negative.
Yes, that would have been a scary situation. And I'm sure that many business owners, if they ever felt that way, get to a stage where they feel stuck, they might not be able to have courage to turn it around like you did. And they might give up. And this podcast is all about helping business owners fall in love with their business again. And this would definitely be something they would fall out of the love with their business. What advice would you give to someone who may be going through this really difficult period in their business?
Well, I think there's lots to be had. If we focus on the negatives, Giovanna, we will get nowhere. And the best thing I could suggest is get a sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle from top to bottom in the middle, and on the left-hand side put the negative problem. And this is, I've lost my franchise, I've lost huge amounts of money, whatever. Doesn't need to be very long. But on the right-hand side, you have to do a brain shift, and it's your positive moving forward outcome. And on that right-hand side, it gets you thinking about how do I move on with positive solutions. And one of them could be of what have I learnt from that particular business that is going to motivate me and aid me in my next venture, whatever it might be. Who do I need to help and support me? What's my action plan that I'm putting in? And this comes back to how we started our conversation on what do I do on a daily basis. And then working on, I've learned a lot from that experience. I learned a lot, yes, on what not to do. But if we dwell on the losses that we've had, it will end up affecting our health and affecting us, and we won't move forward at all. So the more that we can think positively on the right-hand side, and on that right-hand side, you can't take a negative problem and change a couple of words into a positive problem. It's a whole mind shift of looking at a positive outcome that's very, very different to where you've been. And no negative words like if, but, maybe, because all you're doing on the right-hand side is moving the goalposts, if that's the case. So it's got to be a mind shift that, yes, that's happened to me. Yes, it's been a pain in the neck. Yes, I've got to make money to do something about it. But you look at what pieces you can start out with and start small and just start feeding those little pieces on a daily basis. And your confidence will grow because it's about starting at the bottom again and believing in yourself.
Well, I've had an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Jill. I'm sure our listeners would like to know how they can contact you. Can you tell us where they can find you?
Just email me at Jill, JILL.McIntyre, MCINTYRE, 01 at gmail.com. I've got a website and it's www.decidebelievebegin.become.com. And yes, if I can help anyone, just email me and by all means we'll set up a free chat just to see whether I can support you or vice versa. There's got to be a synergy with whoever I work with, that I've got to know that I can, bring and input ideas and growth into their life as well as me being the right person for them. So that's important.
And I will also put all your details in the show notes and on our website so that our listeners can find you and connect with you, which may be easier as they may be walking and, they might forget. So I'll make it easy. So I really recommend Jill. She has
Thank
helped
you.
me in multiple times in so many different levels. And if you are feeling at any stage that it's a difficult moment in your business, I would pick up the phone and call Jill or email Jill.
And it's been a pleasure, Giovanna, as usual. So thanks, and looking forward to our next catch up.
Wow, isn't Jill just the most amazing human being? It's really cute that she still calls me Giovanna, which is really the way I spell my name. But I pronounce it with a soft J, so it sounds like Giovanna. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. You can also visit bumperleads.com/podcast to listen to some more episodes. And I will be in touch with you soon. Thank you so much for listening.